Few figures in mythology stir as much mystery and controversy as Lilith. Her name has been whispered in fear for centuries, yet in recent times, it has also been spoken with admiration and even reverence. Lilith is depicted in some traditions as a winged demon who preys on children, in others as the first wife of Adam who refused to submit, and in yet others as a goddess of freedom suppressed by patriarchal religion. The truth of Lilith's story is not one tale, but many, woven together from ancient Mesopotamian mythology, Jewish folklore, Christian demonology, Islamic tradition, and modern reinterpretations. To understand Lilith, we must travel through history and faith, from the sands of Babylon to the texts of the Bible, and from medieval amulets to feminist literature. Lilith in ancient Mesopotamia, Lilitu and Lamishtu. Lilith's story begins not in the Bible, but in Mesopotamia over 4,000 years ago. Archaeologists have uncovered Sumerian and Babylonian texts that mention female night spirits called Lilitu, Ardit Lili, and Lamishtu. These were dangerous beings associated with the wind, storms, disease, and infertility. They were believed to attack pregnant women, steal newborn children, and seduce men in their sleep. Amulets from ancient Mesopotamia often depict these spirits, with inscriptions calling upon gods like Pazuzu to protect against them. One of the earliest references is in the Epic of Gilgamesh, where a Lilitu appears in a tree sacred to the goddess Inanna. This suggests Lilith's earliest form was not just a demon, but part of divine myth. Over time, the Mesopotamian Lilitu became feared as a vampiric figure of the night, and this archetype traveled into Jewish culture during the Babylonian exile. Lilith in the Hebrew Bible. Lilith's only direct mention in the Hebrew Bible is in the book of Isaiah, Isaiah 34 verse 14. In this passage, which describes desolation, the Hebrew word Lilith appears, often translated as night creature or screech owl. Some scholars argue it referred to a desert demon, others that it meant a type of owl. Yet in Jewish tradition, this brief mention became the seed of a much larger mythology. Lilith was increasingly seen as a night demon who haunted desolate places, a being both feared and shunned. Lilith in the Talmud and rabbinic writings. The Babylonian Talmud, 3rd to 5th century CE, expands Lilith's story. Here, she is described as a demoness with long hair, wings, and the ability to harm newborns. The Talmud warns men not to sleep alone, for Lilith may attack them. She is linked with nocturnal emissions and sexual temptation, showing her role as a seductress demon. Rabbinic tradition often associated Lilith with lust, infertility, and infant mortality, fears that were very real in ancient societies. Protective amulets, inscribed with the names of angels, were placed above cradles to guard infants from her. These amulets, found across the Middle East, often depict Lilith bound or cursed, a symbol of humanity's attempt to control the uncontrollable forces of life and death. The alphabet of Ben Sira, Lilith as Adam's first wife. Lilith's most famous story comes from the alphabet of Ben Sira, a medieval Jewish text from around the 8th to 10th century CE. In this tale, Lilith is described as Adam's first wife, created at the same time and from the same earth as him. Unlike Eve, who was formed from Adam's rib, Lilith was his equal. The story says that when Adam and Lilith lay together, they argued over who should be on top. Lilith refused to lie beneath him, declaring, "We are equal, for we are both made of the earth." Adam rejected her demand, and Lilith, pronouncing the ineffable name of God, flew away from Eden. She settled by the Red Sea, where she consorted with demons and gave birth to countless demonic offspring. God sent angels to bring her back, but she refused, proclaiming she was created to harm infants and seduce men. From this myth, Lilith became the archetype of the rebellious woman, independent, sexual, and dangerous. Lilith in Christianity. Christianity absorbed Lilith mostly through demonology and folklore. While she is not explicitly named in the Bible beyond Isaiah's cryptic passage, medieval Christian writers, influenced by Jewish traditions, described Lilith as a succubus, a female demon who seduced men at night and bore demon children. In Christian art and literature, Lilith sometimes appears alongside Satan or as part of the serpent in Eden, tempting Eve to sin. This association painted her as both the corrupter of men and the enemy of women, an embodiment of sin and carnal desire. Lilith in Islam. In Islamic tradition, Lilith is not a central figure, but parallels exist. Some folklore refers to Lilith, or female jinn who prey on infants and men, much like the Jewish Lilith. She is sometimes conflated with Iblis's offspring, part of the Shayn, devils, who whisper temptations to humans. Though she does not appear in the Quran, certain folk stories in Arabia and Persia carried her legend into Muslim storytelling, where she is portrayed as a jinn-like creature of the night. Lilith in medieval Europe. During the Middle Ages, Lilith's image spread widely across Europe. She was feared as a witch, succubus, and child killer. Mothers wore protective charms, while theologians debated her nature. She was also associated with nocturnal demons that caused sleep paralysis, what people called the old hag sitting on one's chest. The fear of Lilith reflected deeper anxieties about women, sexuality, childbirth, and death. Lilith as a feminist symbol. In the modern era, Lilith has undergone a dramatic transformation. Instead of being seen only as a demon, she has been reinterpreted as a symbol of female empowerment. Feminist writers reclaim her refusal to submit to Adam as an act of independence, not rebellion. To them, Lilith represents the silenced voices of women throughout history, those who resisted patriarchy and were demonized for it. Movements such as the Lilith Fair Music Festival in the 1990s celebrated her as a figure of liberation. In literature, psychology, and art, Lilith is now often portrayed as a powerful goddess of freedom, sexuality, and independence, challenging the narratives that cast her only as a monster. Lilith in popular culture. From poetry to film, Lilith's presence endures. She appears in Dante Gabriel Rossetti's 19th-century painting Lady Lilith as a femme fatale. She features in Goethe's Faust, as well as in countless modern novels, TV shows, and horror films. In occult circles, she is invoked as a dark goddess, associated with the moon and feminine power. Pop culture often blends the ancient demoness with the modern feminist symbol, making her both terrifying and empowering. Symbolism of Lilith. Lilith embodies paradox. She is both mother and child killer, a figure of fertility and infertility. She is both seductress and victim, feared for her sexuality, yet punished for her independence. She is both demon and goddess, cursed in some texts, divine in others. Ultimately, Lilith symbolizes humanity's complex relationship with women, sexuality, freedom, and fear. She reflects the anxieties of ancient societies about birth and death, the struggle between male and female, and the tension between obedience and independence. Lilith's story has never been fixed. From Sumerian night demon to Adam's first wife, from Christian succubus to feminist icon, she has been rewritten to reflect the values and fears of each age. To some, she is a dangerous spirit lurking in the shadows. To others, she is the first woman to stand up for her dignity. Whether demon or goddess, Lilith remains one of the most fascinating and enduring figures of myth, religion, and human imagination. Her story asks us a timeless question: what happens to those who refuse to bow?